we always love a story when somebody makes the most out of their opportunities. And ironically, a lot of people also love stories when people don't make the most of their opportunities because it creates a viewership. But me, I just feel bad. A lot of times we build people up to bring them down, but some people don't even get brought up and they bring themselves down. That's a perfect example of Isaiah Wilson. Isaiah Wilson was drafted by the Tennessee Titans with the 29th overall pick in 2020. He was a 5-star prospect out of high school, the 17th best player in the country. He was 6'7", 345 pounds, still is that. I mean, a monster of a man. He's 6'7", all the intangibles to be a really great offensive lineman. He goes to Georgia, plays 3 seasons, then in the senior season, he bypasses it to enter the NFL draft. He gets drafted, and this is the timeline of when everything before everything went downhill for Isaiah Wilson. Once he got drafted, he was put on the COVID reserve list before training camp. Around August, he finally signs his Tennessee Titans contract, and then in the middle of the month of August, he receives a trespassing warning, and the Titans handled it internally, so word didn't get out at that time. Then after that incident, Isaiah Wilson was put on the COVID reserve list again, and then in September, he was arrested for driving under the influence. So we can see a pattern was starting to happen with Isaiah Wilson, that he couldn't stay out of trouble and he couldn't just focus on football. Then in October, he was finally allowed to play and return to practice with the Titans, and he made his debut. He played 3 snaps, and even though he played 3 snaps, it gave a lot of people hope that, okay, finally Isaiah Wilson is on the field. He's showing some good signs of improving his life and maybe focusing on football. And then in December, Isaiah Wilson was suspended for violating team rules. And then in February, he writes on Twitter that he's done with football as a Tennessee Titan. And that was the end of Isaiah Wilson's tenure as a Tennessee Titan. A wasted opportunity for him, a wasted pick by the Tennessee Titans, a waste of time for everybody in that organization, and including Isaiah Wilson. Then he gets a second chance, kind of like what Dwayne Haskins is getting right now with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The only difference is that Dwayne Haskins, it looks like he's doing his thing. It looks like he's focused. He's back on track. Isaiah Wilson, a week into getting traded by the Dolphins, and they didn't give much up. They gave a 7th-round pick, but they got one back. So they basically got Isaiah Wilson for free. He was released by the Dolphins, and nobody knew why. How could he be released so soon? But information about that came out too. He was hours late for his physical. He was late for his onboarding process. He didn't show up for voluntary workouts that he said he would show up to. And the Dolphins cut him because the Dolphins aren't going to play. You know, you only get so much opportunities. And I'm watching Last Chance U basketball right now. It's an amazing show. I'm on episode 8, I believe. And these kids are in JUCO and they're trying to make their way to play in Division 1. And these kids, from what I can see, they have troubled backgrounds. They're trying to find their way. And the coaches that are there working with them, they care about them deeply. But there comes a certain point where you become more trouble than what you're worth. And Isaiah Wilson, that's exactly his case. Okay, we know you're talented, but we're not going to deal with this. You know, on the high school level, on the college level, coaches will deal with that sort of stuff more because they want to win and they know you're probably the best player. In college, Isaiah Wilson was probably the 4th best player on his team, most definitely a top 10 player. In high school, he was the best player on his team. So coaches, because they don't want to lose Isaiah Wilson on game day, they're going to coddle him. They're going to make him feel at home. They're going to do whatever it takes to make sure Isaiah Wilson is happy. But then when you get into the NFL or the NBA or whatever profession that you get into, you quickly realize that you aren't the best one. You aren't the most talented. You aren't getting paid the most. You are just a rookie when you get there. And if you act out like Isaiah Wilson is acting out, not showing up, not being committed, just brushing everything off, they don't deal with that. You're going to get cut. You're not going to have another opportunity. The Titans basically gave up on Isaiah Wilson in 1 year. The Dolphins gave up on him in 1 week. I just hope that he doesn't give up on himself, because it seems like he doesn't care. He just wasted an NFL opportunity, and it's very sad. He's only 22 years old, which is crazy, because most of us, let's be honest, at 22 or in our 20s, we make mistakes. We all make mistakes. We all, aren't the most mature around that age. But when you get into a profession as gruesome as the NFL or NBA, professional sports, you have to be mature at that age, or you have to be insanely good, one or two. Because in the real world, people don't put up with those type of stuff. You're either all in or you're all out. That's pretty much how it goes. And at 22 years old, I just hate to think that he has ruined his life already. 2 teams already gave up on him. 2 teams. 1 team after a week. That is saying something big. And you can't get help if you're not willing to help yourself. In order to receive help, you have to be able to help yourself. And he's not in a position to help himself right now because he just doesn't want it. When looking for an example of all the things not to do, look no further than Isaiah Wilson. This is a player who just wasted his NFL opportunity, his NFL career. He just wasted it right in front of our eyes. And this sort of stuff happens every so often. Although we hope it doesn't happen, we see it happening. And I think everybody on the internet is very malicious towards these people that do this type of stuff, because we recognize the opportunity that this guy was presented. We recognize the opportunity that this guy was presented with an opportunity to make millions of dollars, have financial freedom, take care of his family for generations. And he just threw it all away because he can't commit. It's sad, but it's the reality. And in my opinion, I hope that he figures it out, but I feel no sympathy for him, because you knew what you had. 2 organizations. You were a first-round pick. You weren't a 7th-round pick. 2 organizations, specifically the Titans did everything they did everything to try to make you feel welcomed, to try and make it work out with you. And what did you do? You threw it all away. I don't know all the ins and outs of what happened with the situation, but from what it looks like this guy was just lazy, and this guy just didn't care. And I have no sympathy for guys who don't care, because if you don't care, why should I care? He wasted his NFL career, and I hope maybe one day he comes back and makes a comeback, but you only get so many opportunities, and I would hate for him to realize years on that this was the only opportunity he got, and he wasted it.